This is Boxes and Briefs, a podcast with real-life business stories. But we will be asking the hard questions and challenging traditions. So broaden your thinking with fresh perspectives and solve problems for business success. Welcome to another episode of Boxes and Briefs. My name's Lisa Garrett.
I'm Tori.
And today we're talking about understanding numbers, and we have Karl Martin. Hi, Karl.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
Perhaps introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us why we invited you here.
I can't answer why you invited me here, but I'm Karl. I own Growth Matters. My company looks to build better business across New Zealand. We work predominantly in the trades, and we're really about demystifying everything in business and making it accessible to business owners. That starts with their numbers.
Yeah. There's something that you said that I really liked, that your target audience is quite often a tradie who only wants to call themselves a tradie because they think calling themselves a business owner is a bit intimidating. They feel like they have to know more than.
Yeah. Look, the number of times I've heard people say, hey, I'm just a tradie, I'm not a businessman.
Yeah.
But actually they all are businessmen.
Yep.
Business people.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, so what works for you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What's the why?
Oh, look, I've always been someone that's looking to see people get ahead in everything that I've done. I've done a lot of community stuff, and this, I've spent the best part of 30 years now in growth and recovery type work, and doing this in this context, working alongside partnering with business owners to build their business, to help them fill their gaps in their knowledge and experience and get the outcomes, the real outcomes that they want. That's not necessarily profit, it's not necessarily a bigger company, it's not necessarily whatever.
Could just be confidence, right?
Sorry?
Could just be confidence.
It could be confidence. It can be all of the things. And seeing that come together, and often coming together really, really quickly, is phenomenal. And then getting that happening and continuing long term, that just rocks my socks.
Yeah.
Okay. Give us a good example when it comes to business owners who don't understand their numbers. What's that horrible outcome look like?
Oh, dear. Poor collections of revenue, lots of bad debt, behind in their taxes, pricing inappropriately, having a whole lot of glass ceilings where they believe that they can't price at a certain level. Lots of different stuff like that.
They're not valuing their worth, so they're not saying what the hourly rate should be.
Yeah, or they're not understanding actually what they need to be successful in their business and then to achieve the things that they want to achieve.
So what does fake success look like?
I don't know.
Is that where they just, there's money in the bank, I'm going to go buy a car?
Or like, I'm getting jobs, it's all good,
Yeah. Look, that's a great question. I don't know. Real success really, though, is achieving, building the business to achieve what they want to achieve in the long term.
Yeah. So
the business is big enough or small enough to sustain that for the long term. For some people, it might be building a business to sell and they want it to be big. For some people, it might be that the business they want provides jobs for their family for generations. There's a whole lot of different things, and they all mean the business has to be a different size, a different structure, perform in a different way, or have different margins.
So then, typically, the business owners that you work with, do they know what they want?
We spend a lot of time to pull that out of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that right at the start of our process.
Yeah.
So we'll spend an awful lot of time with them, helping them unpack and realise actually what I do want. Because it's not always, the dream of the picket fence. It's not always the $1 million profit.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of people just going into it and be like, right, I'm sick of working for the man. I want to work for myself. Yeah. And then that was just all they knew. So they started up a business, but they don't have a goal yet. They're not actually sure where they want this business to go.
Yeah.
So we're just like paddle along.
Yeah, I'd group that in the accidental business owners. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it happens so often. And Kiwis typically... they love grabbing an idea and then running with it. Yeah. And they don't know whether or not this idea is sustainable and profitable and whether they've actually got a business or if they've just got a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it is helping people understand that their current operation is not profitable or sustainable.
Yeah, or it can be, and
Correct.
it can be more than what it actually is.
Yeah.
And
here's how you do it.
Yes.
So what's the gap between where I'm performing now and where I want to be performing in the future to be achieving the things that we want to achieve?
Yeah.
And then we help fill that out over time. So
yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it is cool. It's freaking awesome. I love it.
So I have heard lots of stories about like they get to year 2 and suddenly they've got to pay GST or they've got the other taxes and things like that. So when it comes to understanding your numbers, what are the basics? What do they need to know and understand?
I love that you've used this type of story to describe this. I say to so many people, don't worry about your tax. Don't worry about your GST.
What?
Get your so I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Go.
Right? We can affect everything in the business except GST and tax. It's just a function of the business that you run.
Right.
Get yourself a really good accountant that is going to work to proactively do your tax planning, ensure that things are in place and the timing and processes are in place for all of those payments, and leave it to them. We'll deal with everything above net profit for before tax.
Okay.
So we'll use that as our baseline measure.
So you help them set something aside so that the accountant's got money to work with?
Yep. So the accountant will work with them to do all that planning and go, right, this is what we're going to be working toward. And we go, great, that's cool. That's all set up. They're going to look after that stuff.
Okay.
We're now going to run the business and we're going to run it hard to achieve those goals that we want. Back in the day, too many people, you heard, and particularly in the trades, too many people did a whole lot of cash jobs. Oh, look, I'll take cash under the table. And it was a way to try and get away from paying tax. And you heard people too often say, hey, I hate paying tax.
Yeah.
Pay more tax.
What?
Pay more tax.
How do you drill that into the tradies that you work with?
If people spent half the time that they spent trying to avoid paying tax, if that's their mindset, they would do way better in their business by putting that energy into other things in the business. And so right from the get-go, we make sure that people are set up with the appropriate accountant, and that's not us, we're not accountants. And we set them up with the right accountant, the accountant looks after that, and we get on with running the business and running it really well.
Okay, so you don't recommend a tradie business owner to do their own
No.
accounting and stuff like that through Xero or whatever. You reckon outsource it, get an accountant to sort that out so they can focus on the other stuff.
They can run their Xero and do the reconciling and load all their invoices and stuff, or they can get a bookkeeper to do that. But definitely to have an accountant on so that they can do that planning. The accountant can be saying, hey, you're going to be having this coming. We're going to get this on your radar. We're going to be saving for this, putting the money aside, making sure the tax account has got enough money in it. And then that's it. We leave it.
And you don't have to worry about it.
We don't worry about it. We don't
So
stress
once
about it.
the
It just
tax-
becomes a function of the business operating well.
Once that's taken care of, then what does the business owner need to understand?
Margins.
Margins.
Yeah.
Describe
So
what that is.
if we've established what we want to achieve, and we can then put that into numerical terms, right? To do this or to achieve this or to be living this way, I need my business to be contributing this sort of money to me, and that will be through salary. Could be through drawings, but we'll talk in terms of salary or wages, and then profit. So how much does my business need to be getting to me every year? And then we'll work back from that, understanding what their costs are, understanding what their gross margin is to work out how big their business is. Or needs to be.
Gross margin?
Gross margin.
I'm going to play dumb for a little bit.
Cool. So gross margin is just what's left over after you've paid for all your wages and materials out of what you invoice your customer.
Okay, so I invoice the customer $100.
Yep.
And I have to pay my employee $40. I have to pay $20 in materials, therefore there's $40 left.
Correct.
Did I work that out right?
Yep.
Yes.
You did. Well done. Good job. Go to the front of the class.
So that's gross.
That's gross profit.
Profit.
And gross profit is just that $40 divided by the $100, so it's 40%.
Got it. Okay. So then I've heard of other terms.
Right.
You just mentioned margin before. What's that? In
So
the same formula.
I'm referring to gross margin percentage there when I'm talking about margin.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the 40% you just came up with.
Yeah, well,
Got it.
Yep, that number that you described.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So they need to understand how much money they're making over and above their costs and people.
Yep. In most businesses, 9 out of 10 businesses that I go into, the benefits we can gain in the business are at the gross margin line, not in removing operational costs.
Because most people, when they're trying to make money in a business, they're either going to increase what they're selling the price to the customer to, or they're going to decrease the cost that it is to get it done.
So there's two lots of costs in all businesses. There's those that are directly attributable to the doing the work.
Yep.
And that's our cost of sales stuff. So revenue less cost of sale is our gross profit. So that's that cost of sales stuff. That's all the wages, materials, anything we've hired to, in say a trade business, anything that we've hired to do the job. And then you've got all of your overhead stuff. So your rent, your fuel, your insurances, your accountant, your any advisors you've got, legal and other, all of that sort of stuff. Uniforms.
Doesn't sound like there'd be a lot left.
Well, this is why working back from what we want the business to be providing us all the time is really important.
Yep.
So if we take our P&L, and when I say P&L, our profit and loss statement, you understand we've got revenue, cost of sale, gross profit, overheads, and then net profit before tax, effectively on a P&L.
So business owners need to understand this?
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, and most do or have a loose understanding when they first come to us.
How often do they look at these things?
They should be looking at them at least monthly or all the time.
Monthly.
Yeah, if they're in a trade business, they should be doing a version of this on every job.
Okay, because like I've been a business owner before. I have dyslexia myself. If I'm not good at it, I need other people to do it.
Yep.
And these numbers and labels is something I would firmly put into the camp of get somebody else to do it.
Cool. So there's getting somebody else to do it, and there's understanding it. And as the business owner, you have to understand it.
Why?
One of the things I always say is never give away the keys to the kingdom, and that is don't give away access to like payment in the business. And the second is know your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where your business is operating at all. If you're scared of your numbers, if you're dyslexic or got anything else that is preventing you from looking at them, you just hate the freaking things.
Yep.
Me.
Get someone like get someone like us where we can tell you stories about it and go, well, this is the impact of this number on your business, and this is why this is a really important number for you.
Yeah.
You guys both know. Like if I said to you, I'm going to be really rude here, and I say, what sort of car you've got? You're probably going to say red. Right? I'm being rude.
Yep.
But you both know that you've got to put your fuel in.
Yep.
Right? The numbers are your fuel.
Okay.
It's really important.
Okay. So if you're scared of it, figure it out anyway.
Figure it out. Get someone to help you figure it out.
Yeah.
We can translate that so quickly for you, and you'll go, oh, why didn't I know this before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it all makes sense now.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do this 5 years ago?
Yes.
I get that so often. It's just nuts.
True.
Yeah. So they're not scary. You just need someone to translate it for you.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Shepherd, the problem solvers in business.
Okay, Karl. So we've talked a lot about numbers and trying to understand them. I think a big one for business owners is when you're looking at your numbers, when is it time to take on a new employee so that you can start doing less?
I always kind of laugh at this one because a lot of people think, hey, I've got to make the business bigger. I need a whole lot more employees. And they're right. If they want to be growing the business, they need to leverage other people's time. They need to be bringing people in to help with that. I guess I'd be asking the question first, do they need employees? Have they decided how big their company is going to be? Once they have, and they've identified that actually they've got more work than they can be doing themselves, then we'll work out where the overlap is, and then we work out how many and what type of employees are coming in.
Okay, so let's say it's one.
Yep.
And it's so that they can spend more time on the business rather than in the business.
Yep.
Is there some kind of a way to figure out when it's a good time? Or do you
I
work to exhaustion?
No.
Where's the line?
Yeah. Look, I love it. I love it with young tradies because I get asked this a lot in the trade space. And what we talk in terms of is overlap in time. And that's because for a lot of them, they're starting out, they don't have a whole lot of equity behind them. They're risk averse. Well, some of them are not, but they're trying to do things without costing or risking a whole lot. So say, for example, a young tradie is working 40 hours a week, but they've got a lot of demand. They've worked out how to create that demand. They're getting a lot of sales coming through the door or a lot of opportunity presented to them. if we can stretch their hours to 50 hours or 60 hours, which is not uncommon for a lot of these guys, then suddenly we've got a 20-hour overlap. So if their normal hours are 40 hours, suddenly they've got 20 hours overlap if they're working at 60. Definitely I'd be bringing somebody in then. We can give that other person, if they're qualified, 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We take the remaining 20 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and then we build back that demand. Now, if we get the both of us back up to 40 hours and we've got more demand,
Mm-hmm.
if we can lift us both to 50 hours, we've suddenly got 2 lots of 10 hours. We've got another 20 hours overlap.
Yeah. Okay.
And at 60 hours, we've got a 40-hour overlap.
Okay.
And
All of a
we're
sudden-
growing.
Yeah.
And we're growing. So it gives us a way to do it without being a bit less risky.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, good.
Mm.
I also know we've had other conversations before about working with people who are under the neurodivergent umbrella.
Yep.
ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, all those different kinds of things. And often people go into hands-on businesses because of that. And I'm not going to call it a disability. I think it's a superpower.
Absolutely.
So often when you start trying to become the business owner, like what
Yeah.
you've been talking about and understanding the numbers,
Yeah.
that can kind of get in the way or lose your confidence.
Look, a lot of people, and particularly in the trades, I work mostly in the trades, so that's why I keep referring back there. A lot of business owners in the trades will say to you, hey, look, I'm just a tradie, or I've had people to say to me, hey, look, I'm dumb, or I'm dyslexic, and I don't like numbers, and I've got ADHD. And I can understand why they would say that, because they've come through a system that's not designed for their learning style.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not their learning requirements, it's not their learning needs, it's their learning style.
Yep.
And we have a system that's designed one way for the masses. And so a lot of people who have come through, and particularly more than 20 years ago, but even still now, they come through and they are led to believe or actively told that they can't learn, that they're dumb,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
they should go into this job or that job, or be a builder, or be a plumber, or be a sparky, or whatever it is.
And it would have come from dropping out of school and stuff as well, like just
All
feeling
of that stuff.
Yeah.
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 And then so you've just got the narrative in your head that,
yeah.
you know, I'm not capable of this.
There's that, but then also, and particularly with the likes of ADHD, there'll be the real gaps in their knowledge of and experience, because
Yeah.
they'll be having the conversation in class or wherever it is they're learning the thing, and then suddenly they're off going, okay, I need to be doing this, and this, and they're thinking about a whole lot of other stuff, and
Yeah.
they've missed a part of the piece
Yep.
of learning that they needed, and
Yep.
oftentimes they won't pick it back up. I guess that's a big part of why I do what I do. I've got ADHD, and understanding that there can be gaps in people's knowledge and experience, and creating an environment where they are free to thought experiment and try things out and learn what they don't know, or put a label on what they do know that they thought they didn't know.
Yeah.
Because that's often the case.
Yeah, totally. They often know through their experience what they've got. So, look, it's not a big deal. I think it is a superpower as well. It's why I do what I do so well.
Yeah.
But it is amazing the number of people that I find that do have various versions of labelled
Yes.
things. I don't know how we
Yes.
best describe that.
Yeah.
They're grouped in one big neurodivergent bottle, if you like.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
So
yeah.
it's harnessing the superpower and focusing it on something and then filling in the knowledge gaps.
Yeah, or saying, actually, you know that thing that you keep telling me there? That's this.
Ah.
Just joining the dots for them as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really spins my propeller, because it just goes, oh, God. And then once you've joined those dots, then it just flows.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
That's
Then
true.
you can go back to what you're good at
Yeah.
and actually discover you were good at other things. You just didn't know it.
Yeah, and if that uncovers other things that you're not good at, that's where, with the employee thing, it's really good, because we can bring in the skills that we need in other areas.
Yeah. Replace yourself.
Yeah, or bring in what I don't have.
Yes. Nice. Okay, so when it comes to understanding your numbers, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Keep it simple,
Yeah.
but don't be scared of them. You can definitely get analysis paralysis, going and looking too technically at your numbers. Keep it really simple. If you fear your numbers, find someone you trust to help you create the environment where you can understand what story is coming from your numbers and allow you to drive the business through those.
Yeah. So I think my most important takeaway is don't be afraid. Figure it out somehow with someone.
Yep.
Get into it.
Yeah. If in doubt, ask.
And pay tax.
Pay more tax. Well, we're making more money, right? Our whole system is built on us making money and paying tax. So let's make some more, pay some more tax, make some more money and build these businesses.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Karl. If our listeners want to get a hold of you, I understand they can track you down on Instagram.
Yep, all over it. Give us a message on @GrowthMattersNZ.
Yep.
We're on there, we're on LinkedIn, we're on the web as well, but Insta is really our biggest conversation point.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Boxes and Briefs is proudly brought to you by Gilligan Shepherd, the problem solvers in business.